For years, Las Vegas has successfully branded itself as the world's ultimate playground, a dreamland where neon lights never dim and wealth and opportunity shimmer like mirages in the desert. In the city's grand narrative, no group of visitors has been more prized and pivotal than those from China. They're hailed as big spenders, the most welcome faces in casino VIP rooms, luxury boutiques, and Michelin-starred restaurants. Casinos roll out the red carpet for them, host lavish Chinese New Year celebrations, and even redesign floors to cater to their preference for the number 8 and aversion to 4. Yet beneath this glittering facade built on money, lights, and meticulously crafted marketing, a starkly different, even diametrically opposed, story is quietly circulating on Chinese social media platforms like Weibo, WeChat Moments, and Xiaohongshu, like an undercurrent that can't be fully suppressed. Chinese tourists who've experienced the city of sin firsthand are starting to share less than glamorous tales, griping about hotel prices that skyrocket like roller coasters, ranting about endless hidden resort fees on bills, venting about the lousy or downright indifferent customer service they've encountered, and some even bluntly saying that in a city that once embraced them with open arms, they now feel unwelcome, even treated like second-class guests. These complaints spread like digital dandelion seeds across cyberspace, striking a deep chord in certain communities, but oddly enough, they rarely pierce the information barrier to make it into Western mainstream media coverage. Why is that? Because these raw, unfiltered voices threaten to expose a side of Las Vegas that casinos and tourism boards would prefer to keep buried forever. A side that's losing its luster. If the city's most cherished and profitable international visitor group is leaving frustrated and disillusioned, what does that mean for the future of Sin City? Tonight, we'll dig deep into those deliberately concealed secret frustrations, dissect the economic drivers casinos are reluctant to admit, and reveal why so many Chinese travelers are rethinking whether Las Vegas is worth that pricey Trans-Pacific trip. The lights on the Las Vegas Strip may still dazzle, but if you listen closely, you'll hear the whispers from those Chinese tourists saying Vegas just ain't what it used to be. The city once built on generosity and dreams seems to be eroded by a cold, calculating business logic, and they're the first to feel the chill. The first cracks in that shiny Las Vegas image didn't appear in glossy travel magazines or official tourism reports, but on those lively, authentic Chinese social media platforms buzzing with real feedback. Starting around the mid-2010s, sporadic posts began popping up on Weibo, WeChat, and the lifestyle-sharing app Xiaohongshu, describing experiences that sharply contrasted with the dreams sold in casino ads. At first, these posts were easy to dismiss as isolated gripes amid thousands of satisfied visitors, and unlucky travelers' bad luck. But soon, a pattern emerged, and the complaints coalesced into an undeniable wave. The most common beefs, almost without exception, zeroed in on price transparency and fairness. Countless Chinese tourists detailed in their posts how hotel rates on the Las Vegas Strip balloon without warning to jaw-dropping levels during peak seasons, especially China's Golden Week or Chinese New Year. But that wasn't what baffled them most. What really made them feel ripped off were the layers of hidden fees. Many were shocked and pissed about the infamous resort fee, a mandatory charge often over $40 a night, slapped on the final bill regardless of whether you used the pool, gym, or Wi-Fi. For tourists used to traveling in China or other parts of Asia, where hotel prices are usually all-inclusive with everything upfront and clear, this felt like a carefully orchestrated scam, a dishonest business tactic. Parking, once a basic perk casinos offered to lure players, a gesture of generosity, became another sore spot. By the late 2010s, many major resorts on the Strip started charging for it, sometimes over $20 a day. For Chinese tourists familiar with Macau's casino culture, this was especially hard to swallow. In Macau, VIPs and even regular guests usually get free parking, complimentary shuttles, and a whole slate of conveniences. To them, paying extra just to park felt like an insult, sending the message, every moment you're here, you're being nickeled and dimed. Customer service was another recurring theme, and the one that hurt emotionally the deepest. Posts described staff who always seemed rushed, distracted, or indifferent to non-English-speaking guests. Some Chinese tourists even chronicled feeling treated like second-tier customers compared to American locals. They'd noticed that when they asked questions in halting English, they got curt, impatient responses, while the American guest next to them got smiles and patient explanations. This huge gap between the welcome-to-all marketed image and the neglect they actually felt left a bitter taste. Perhaps the most telling complaints came from repeat visitors to Las Vegas. They compared early trips to recent ones, painting a clear picture of a disheartening shift. They reminisced about past travels when casino comps seemed everywhere, and service felt more personal and human. Now, every visit felt monetized, with interactions cold and transactional. One tourist from Shanghai wrote in a lengthy blog post, "In 2010, I felt like an honored guest. In 2023, I felt like a walking wallet." This emotional summary went viral online because it hit home for countless others with similar feelings, resonating widely. Interestingly, many of these critical posts don't stick around long on the web. Screenshots circulating show that some detailed bad reviews or sharp criticisms get deleted or algorithmically buried soon after posting, making them hard to find. This inevitably sparks speculation about pressure from tourism authorities or casino-linked interest groups who don't want negative press tarnishing Vegas's lucrative reputation in China. Yet this suppression or vanishing of critical voices only makes the surviving stories more powerful and credible, like glimpses of a truth that's not allowed to be openly acknowledged. These early waves of complaints revealed more than just bad service or pricing issues. They exposed a growing chasm between Chinese tourists' expectations and the reality of modern Las Vegas. As the city keeps peddling its glitz and glamour to the world, Chinese travelers are starting to see the cracks beneath the polished surface. Their words are often ignored or downplayed in the West, but in reality, this is a major warning sign that Vegas's relationship with one of its most vital international markets is quietly wearing thin and fraying. When Chinese tourists began flooding into Las Vegas en masse in the early 21st century, their expectations were shaped by two powerful forces: the city's fame as the world's ultimate gambling capital, and their own cultural reference point, Macau, dubbed the Monte Carlo of the East. In their minds, whether in Vegas or Macau, gamblers should get pampered with luxury, dignity, and that special VIP treatment. For many Chinese travelers, a Las Vegas trip wasn't just about gambling. It was a journey into a dream where the whole city seemed to exist solely for their entertainment. For true high rollers, those big-spending VIPs, these expectations were largely met. Top casinos on the Strip poured money into ultra-lavish VIP rooms tailored for baccarat, a game beloved by Chinese gamblers. They comped free top-tier suites overlooking the glittering Strip, arranged private jet pickups, offered intimate dining experiences by celebrity chefs, provided limos and drivers, and assigned personal account managers fluent in Mandarin or Cantonese to cater to their every whim around the clock. During Chinese New Year, hotels transformed completely, hanging red lanterns, putting on dragon and lion dances, and hosting themed events to attract and honor these esteemed Chinese guests. For players betting hundreds of thousands or even millions in a single hand, Las Vegas delivered on its promise. It was truly a playground for the rich. However, for the vast majority of ordinary Chinese tourists, the reality they encountered was a stark, even brutal contrast. Unlike those pampered VIPs, regular folks found themselves in a city where every little convenience came at a price. Those hotel rooms that looked affordable in ads ended up costing way more once resort fees, taxes, and extras piled on, leaving people stunned. Dining on the Strip, especially at celebrity chef spots, was outrageously expensive, worlds apart from eating out in Beijing or Shanghai. Even grabbing fast food or a coffee could cost 2 or 3 times what they'd pay back home. Transportation was another unexpected headache. Many Chinese tourists assumed Vegas would be like Macau, with casinos offering free shuttles to hop between hotels and attractions. Instead, they soon learned they'd either pay steep parking fees or rely on pricey rideshares or taxis to get around. For families with packed itineraries, these extra transport costs added up fast, souring the whole vibe. Language barriers created ongoing friction too. While luxury casinos provided double-lingual managers for high rollers, most frontline staff, from hotel desks to restaurant servers, spoke only English. Tourists who couldn't communicate fluently often described in their social posts that helpless feeling of being ignored, rushed, or misunderstood. On Zaihongshu, one wrote about trying to ask for details on bill charges and getting way less patience than American guests, sometimes even eye rolls. This subtle differential treatment amplified their frustration. What made it feel even more unfair was the invisible hierarchy in casino perks and comps. Chinese tourists who weren't gambling big bucks felt like invisibles compared to American locals who got free drink vouchers, casino credits, or loyalty rewards handed out freely. The message from casinos seemed clear. Unless you're ready to lose big at the tables, You're not worth any extra attention or resources. This massive gap between expectation and reality was magnified by Chinese culture's emphasis on hospitality. In traditional Chinese values, guests should be treated with courtesy, no matter how much they spend. The idea of guests are guests runs deep. For a world-famous tourist city like Las Vegas to nickel-and-dime visitors and treat them like disposable passers-by clashed profoundly with Chinese notions of respect and face. One disappointed tourist from Guangzhou summed it up in a viral post. Vegas sells luxury, but delivers indifference. They welcome your money, but not you as a person. This cutting comment nailed the shared sentiment of many. The stark contrast between high rollers' lavish experiences and ordinary travelers' frustrations has created a severe split in perceptions of Las Vegas. On one hand, tales of tycoons losing millions overnight reinforced the myth of Vegas as the ultimate destination for Chinese wealth. On the other, countless regular tourists return home with stories of hidden fees, rude service, and shattered illusions. This dual reality explains why, despite massive marketing pushes by casinos and tourism boards, Chinese visitor numbers are stagnating or even declining. For the wealthy elite, Vegas remains a playground. For everyone else, it's turning into a money trap. In many ways, this widening gap mirrors the city's own broader transformation. Las Vegas was once famous for cheap buffets, free parking, and comps for nearly every visitor. But in pursuit of higher profits, casinos shifted to a model that rewards only top spenders while squeezing everyone else dry. For Chinese tourists arriving with high hopes of fairness and warm hospitality, this shift hits with especially strong and profound disappointment. If Chinese tourist complaints about Las Vegas are so widespread and intense on social media, why do we hear so little about them in mainstream media coverage? The answer lies in a delicate, complex balance of image, money, and control. For casinos and tourism authorities, the last thing they want is negative stories damaging one of their most profitable international markets. So the mountains of online frustration get quietly sidelined or erased. Casinos know the power of perception is reality. Las Vegas isn't just a city. It's a powerhouse brand built on glitz, indulgence, and promises of endless possibility. Any negative press highlighting skyrocketing prices, hidden resort fees, or poor service could burst that carefully cultivated bubble. For this reason, casinos have strong incentives to keep complaints confined to the obscure corners of Weibo or Zhiahongshu, rather than letting them dominate tourism headlines in China or the US. Tourism promotion agencies play a key role too. For years, the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority, LVCVA, has poured millions into campaigns specifically targeting Chinese tourists, emphasizing luxury experiences, world-class shows, and unique shopping. Admitting that many leave dissatisfied would undermine the narrative they've spent big bucks promoting. So it's no surprise that critical posts get drowned out by glossy promo videos and official collabs with Chinese celebs or influencers. There's also suspicion of active suppression. Some Chinese travelers claim their negative reviews mysteriously vanish from popular platforms. While some might blame the site's own moderation rules, others believe casinos or affiliates are pulling strings behind the scenes to curb damaging stories. In one widely shared case, screenshots showed a WeChat group post about unfair treatment in Vegas getting deleted within hours, while promo content stayed put. The massive economic stakes explain why this silence is guarded so fiercely. Pre-pandemic, Chinese tourists were estimated to pump up to $17 billion annually into Nevada's economy. Even post-dip, this market remains key to long-term growth. If narratives of Vegas exploiting or disrespecting Chinese guests spread wide, it could accelerate visitor loss, pushing them to Macau, Singapore, or European luxury hubs. Another reason for the silence ties into gambling culture psychology. Casinos thrive on myths of huge wins and carefree losses. Stories of Chinese high rollers dropping millions at baccarat reinforce that image. But tales of regular tourists griping over a $50 resort fee or bad service do the opposite. They strip away the illusion, reminding everyone that Las Vegas is at its core a business machine designed to extract as much cash as possible from every visitor. From the industry's view, those stories aren't worth amplifying. Ironically, by hiding these complaints, Las Vegas might be fueling distrust. Many Chinese travelers see posts vanishing or concerns ignored and interpret the silence as proof of something shady. They believe the city is covering up flaws rather than fixing them. This perception, accurate or not, deepens alienation and betrayal. Ultimately, the silence around Chinese tourists' discontent isn't accidental. It's strategic. By burying criticism, casinos hope to preserve the myth of Vegas as a dream destination. But the cracks are visible. The wider these stories spread online, the harder they are to fully suppress. In a digital age where screenshots live forever and word of mouth crosses borders instantly, those hidden complaints from Chinese tourists might prove impossible to keep in the dark forever. The warnings embedded in those complaints, hidden in online corners, are finally manifesting in cold, hard data. For decades, Chinese tourists have been one of the brightest jewels in Las Vegas's international market crown. They splurge on luxury shopping, fine dining, and especially baccarat. For years, baccarat alone accounted for nearly a third of total revenue from all casinos on the Las Vegas Strip. But lately, these key metrics are sliding, leading to what analysts call a trust crisis, a breakdown in trust between Las Vegas and its once most coveted visitors. The turning point came after 2019, when U.S.-China trade tensions combined with the global COVID pandemic to slash international travel. In 2019, nearly 300,000 Chinese tourists arrived in Las Vegas, a number that had been steadily climbing. By 2022, it plummeted to less than half. Even in 2024, with borders reopening, recovery has been painfully slow. China's once eager middle class for overseas luxury spending is grappling with domestic economic slowdowns, unstable real estate, and rising youth unemployment. Las Vegas is no longer seen as a must-stop on international itineraries. But the drop isn't just geopolitics or economics, it's about perception too. Those online gripes about resort fees, parking charges, and indifferent service are coalescing into a broader narrative. Las Vegas no longer values Chinese guests like it used to. For a culture that prizes respect and face so highly, feeling taken for granted or disrespected weighs heavy. Comparisons to other destinations make it worse. Chinese visitors to Canada, Japan, or Europe often report feeling more welcomed, with services tailored to their language and cultural needs. In cities like Paris and London, luxury retailers hire Mandarin-speaking staff and offer straightforward tax refunds geared toward Chinese shoppers. In Macau, high rollers are treated like royalty, with seamless credit extensions and every whim catered to. Against this backdrop, Las Vegas looks less like a hedonistic dreamland and more like a ruthless cash grab. The trust crisis deepened with high-profile lawsuits against Chinese gamblers grabbing attention. When casinos chase millions in gambling debts through U.S. courts, it reinforces the view that Vegas cares about Chinese players only while they're losing. Once they win or skip out on debts, it turns hostile. For regular tourists, these stories blur into a broader unease. If the city can publicly humiliate its richest guests, what chance do ordinary travelers have for decent respect? The result is eroding loyalty. Tourists who saved for years for their dream Vegas trip are increasingly opting for closer-to-home spots. Singapore's Marina Bay Sands, with its futuristic skyline and world-class amenities, offers much of the same thrills as the Strip, but with service widely seen as more attentive and thoughtful. Macau, despite political turbulence, remains a huge draw for its cultural familiarity and closeness. Even Korea and Japan are emerging alternatives, with new integrated resorts and luxury experiences aimed at China's growing middle class. For Las Vegas, these numbers are a wake-up call, not just for lost revenue, but for a shift in its global prestige. If the city loses its grip on Chinese tourists, who symbolized its international wealth magnet, it risks being seen as a regional rather than global hub. The trust crisis isn't from a single rumor or a few complaints. It's from a growing belief that Vegas no longer lives up to its promise of treating every guest like a star. In a world where reputation spreads at the speed of WeChat messages, that perception can be devastating. Once trust shatters, no amount of neon or ads can easily mend it. The silence used to hide these complaints might have protected Las Vegas short-term, but long-term, it sparked a collapse of confidence among the very tourists it relied on most.